The name that was supposed to be off limits just landed on the docket. You have heard the rumors for months, whispered in the comments sections and hinted at on blind item blogs. But as of this morning, the Billionaire Shield protecting the Carter empire has officially cracked. Everyone believed that while the federal indictment was taking down Bad Boy, Roc Nation was impenetrable. The common belief was that Jay-Z was too powerful, too wealthy, and too strategically distant from the mess to ever be dragged into a courtroom. That was the expectation. The reality is a refiled lawsuit from December 2025 that does not just hint at his involvement, it names Sean Carter as a co-defendant in a case involving a minor. The Untouchable timeline has been touched. In this video, we are going to answer the 3 questions flooding the industry group chats right now. What exactly does this new filing claim happened after the 2000 VMAs? And why are the specific details so damaging? Why did his legal team label this a blackmail attempt days before the papers even dropped? And what does that timing tell us about failed settlement talks? And finally, what does the sudden silence from his usual celebrity defenders tell us about the money moving behind the scenes and the future of the Roc Nation brand? Let's look at the documents. To understand why this specific filing is a catastrophe for the Carter brand, we have to look at the expectation versus reality of the timeline. The expectation, fueled by 20 years of carefully curated PR, is that Jay-Z evolved past the gritty dangers of the late 90s long ago. We see him in boardrooms, not backrooms, but the reality, according to the amended complaint filed in the Southern District of New York on December 9, 2025, forces us to look back at a very specific night, the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. We all remember the photos from that era. The oversized suits, the champagne bottles, the big pimpin' energy that defined the peak of the Bad Boy Rockefeller alliance. But the filing paints a much darker picture of the afterparty. Per the court documents, the plaintiff, identified only as Jane Doe, alleges she was a minor at the time and was coerced into a private room with both Sean Combs and the man referred to in earlier redacted drafts as Celebrity A. That redaction is gone. The filing now explicitly names Sean Carter. The claim is not just about presence, it alleges direct participation. This destroys the narrative that Jay-Z was just a distant observer of Diddy's behavior. The receipt here is not a blurry photo or an anonymous source. It is a federal complaint with a docket number. According to the filing, the plaintiff alleges she was recruited by industry associates under the guise of meeting music executives to advance a potential modeling and music career. This is a pattern we have seen described in the freak-off indictments against Combs, but this is the first time the mechanism has been legally tied to Jay-Z. The complaint details that the plaintiff was transported from the awards venue to a private residence where she claims the assault took place. Why does this matter now, 25 years later? You might be asking about the statute of limitations. According to legal analysts speaking to The Hollywood Reporter on December 11th, this case was filed under the look-back window provided by the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act. This is the same legal mechanism that allowed the Cassie lawsuit to proceed. It means that the age of the allegation does not protect the defendant. The court is looking at the evidence, not the calendar. This brings us to the second massive shock, the blackmail strategy. Usually, when a star of this magnitude gets sued, the playbook is silence. You let the lawyers issue a generic no comment or a vigorous denial weeks later. But look at the statement released by Jay-Z's legal team via TMZ just 48 hours before this filing went public. They did not just deny, they preemptively accused the plaintiff's lawyer of a shakedown. According to the statement provided to TMZ, Carter's attorney claimed that the plaintiff's legal team demanded a specific sum of money to keep the name Sean Carter out of the filing. They labeled this extortion. But here's the reality that PR experts know. You only claim extortion regarding a settlement demand if a settlement negotiation was actually happening. By framing the lawsuit as a failed extortion plot before the public saw the allegations, they tried to poison the well. This is a tactic known as pre-buttal. It tells us 2 things. First, they knew this was coming. Second, they knew it was damaging enough to break their usual code of absolute silence. They're not laughing this off, they're fighting for the brand's survival. A crisis management specialist told Variety on December 12th that this scorched earth approach is high risk. If they claim it was a shakedown, they open themselves up to discovery regarding those negotiations. Emails, texts, and calls between lawyers could become evidence. If the plaintiff can prove they were valid settlement talks based on credible evidence, the extortion defense falls apart, and Jay-Z looks like he was trying to buy silence. The shock value increases when we look at the third angle, the money and the silence. Think back to previous controversies, when the elevator footage leaked or when political attacks happened. The friends of the Carters rallied instantly. You saw the Instagram stories, the tweets, the supportive op-eds from major cultural figures. The support was loud and immediate. This week, silence. Per a social media sentiment analysis published by Billboard, mentions of Jay-Z by major Roc Nation affiliates have dropped by over 80% compared to last month. Why? Because in Hollywood, you defend a friend, but you distance yourself from a liability. The silence suggests that insiders are waiting to see if the Diddy domino effect is going to topple the Roc. We have to talk about the business exposure here. Jay-Z is not just a rapper, he's a holding company. He has massive partnerships with the NFL, LVMH, and various tech giants. These contracts almost always contain morality clauses. According to standard entertainment contract law, a morality clause allows a brand to sever ties if a partner is involved in a salacious scandal that brings public disrepute, contempt, or scandal to the brand. Being named as a co-defendant in a sexual assault case involving a minor alongside a man currently in federal custody is the definition of public disrepute. If the NFL, for example, feels that the heat from this lawsuit threatens their image, they can pull the plug on the Roc Nation partnership. That's hundreds of millions of dollars in jeopardy. The silence from his friends isn't just social awkwardness, it's financial self-preservation. They're checking their own contracts to make sure they're not dragged down by the undertow. Now, let's pivot to the most dangerous variable in this equation, Sean Diddy Combs himself. The expectation was that Diddy would stay loyal to his peers. The code of silence was the rule. But the reality we need to accept is that loyalty has an expiration date when you're looking at life in prison without parole. Diddy has been in federal custody since September. He's been denied bail multiple times. According to sources close to the investigation cited by the New York Times, federal prosecutors are aggressively building a RICO case that relies on establishing a criminal enterprise. A criminal enterprise requires more than one person. It requires a network. If the feds are pressing Diddy for bigger fish to lighten his sentence, or if Diddy simply decides he's not going down alone, but dynamic shifts, the co-defendant status in this civil suit binds their legal fates together. If Jay-Z fights the civil suit and Diddy settles, or vice versa, it creates a prisoner's dilemma. Evidence used in the civil trial could theoretically be subpoenaed for the criminal case. This connects to a detail in the filing that many people missed. The plaintiff mentions associates who facilitated the meeting. Who are these associates? Are they the same people named in the Diddy indictment? If there's an overlap in the personnel, the wall between Jay-Z's clean business and Diddy's dirty business dissolves. Let's go deeper into the Jane Doe strategy. Why remain anonymous? Critics often argue that anonymity protects the accuser too much. However, according to victim advocates quoted in the Los Angeles Times, in high-profile cases involving figures with the wealth and reach of Jay-Z, anonymity is a safety necessity. The filing alleges fear of retaliation. Given the power Roc Nation has in the music industry, the ability to blackball artists, stop tours, and kill careers, that fear is a central part of the legal argument. It explains why this took 25 years to surface. It wasn't just trauma, it was a power imbalance that made speaking out impossible until the Diddy dam broke. We also need to address the timeline of denials. Over the years, whenever Jay-Z was asked about Diddy's behavior, he often pivoted or gave vague answers about brotherhood. Those clips are now resurfacing and being dissected by the internet sleuths. A video from a 2015 radio interview is currently viral, where Jay-Z jokes about Diddy's wild parties. At the time, it played as cool. Today, it plays as complicity. The context has shifted, and with it, public perception is collapsing. So, where does this leave us? The expectation was that Jay-Z had won the game of fame. He had successfully transitioned from the block to the boardroom, accumulating wealth and respect that seemed to scrub the past clean. The reality is that the past doesn't vanish just because you bought a suit. The 2000 VMAs are back to haunt him, and the receipts are now legal record, not just rumors. The timeline has shifted, the filings are public, and for the first time in decades, the outcome is not under his control. He's facing a plaintiff who refused a settlement, a co-defendant who has nothing left to lose, and a corporate world that is slowly backing away. If you want to understand the full PR playbook stars use to bury stories like this before they hit court, the catch-and-kill tactics, the shadow bans, and the media manipulation, you need to watch the deep dive in our Fresh Celebrity Tea playlist right here. It explains the machinery that kept this quiet for 25 years, until today. Click here to see how the game is really played.